One of the most important parts of our Jackson Home's work is to tell the stories of people in our community who aren't often recognized. We think that this helps us be accountable for taking care of our city and each other.
I came across the quote, "Leadership is an action, not a position or a title." And for many of the influential leaders in our community, they don't stand behind podiums or carry impressive titles. Most of them are just showing up early, staying late, and they're pouring themselves into the work that often goes unseen.
We asked our community to help us identify the people who are hidden leaders, the people who are doing quiet, behind-the-scenes work that isn't getting recognized.
But if you ask them, they're just doing what needed to be done, and yet their impact tells a different story.
It's about sacrifice. It's about looking at something bigger than yourself. It's hoping that the community will be lifted up through your efforts, and you don't necessarily need credit for everything. So if you can surround yourself with a team who has the same goals and objectives, and then you just let the work speak for itself. You know, you do the best you can, and hopefully after you've gone on, your work will still live. So we don't have seat belts, but just hold on tight. You're in for a ride of your life. I'm a jazz enthusiast. Being a creative writer, I try to write the way jazz musicians play a lot of times. And so it's the whole nature of improvisation. You know, it's very much akin to creative writing. So jazz is very important in my life personally, and as well as my development as a writer. The Jazz Foundation of West Tennessee, we're a nonprofit blues and jazz organization dedicated to the music and to the culture here in West Tennessee. We primarily operate through concerts throughout the year, at least 4. And what's so wonderful about the music is that you have 4 or 5 guys on the stage, and they're all playing a particular tune, but unlike a rock band or the symphony, each musician has the space to solo or to tell their particular story. And that's a beautiful thing. This area of West Tennessee is a rich jazz and blues history. Of course, Gil Scott-Heron, this is his boyhood home. There's been some other blues legends like Big Maybelle, Sonny Boy Williamson, #1. We just did a historical marker for Christine Chapman. So being born and raised here and the music having an influence on me and the culture and the history, it just all sort of came together. But jazz is considered America's classical music. During days of segregation, artists like Duke Ellington and Dizzy Gillespie will perform here quite regularly. And so, as I mentioned earlier, with the artists who have a history here, I think that tradition needs to be revived in some way. You can't move forward without a good understanding of history, right? So we're going to stand in the gap, so to speak, of what's going on in the past and what's coming in the future and where we are right now. I think it's just incumbent that somebody steps in and fills the void. And so this is what the Jazz Foundation is trying to do.
Leadership to me is kind of like a lead by example thing. You get out there, you help do the work. You're not just standing back and watching necessarily. You're out there with people trying to help. I don't like asking someone else to do something I'm not willing to do myself. Born and raised here in Jackson. When I was born, we lived on Phillips Street. For college, I went to Lane College here for my bachelor's and Bethel for my master's. So I'm a hometown girl. When I started out doing investigations, I was in a unit called Violent Crimes. And in violent crimes, you work everything from the homicides to the robberies, the sexual assaults and everything. It's more of the human aspect when you're dealing with someone who's like at their lowest point, who's gone through something traumatic, and just, to kind of be that listening ear. Most people's perception or interaction with police is probably something negative. And I'd like to try to see that change at some point. Sometimes in this job, people think of officers as, these stoic people with no emotion whatsoever. But I've cried with families before. I mean, you have to have that human connection. We're all human. This is a profession that we chose. But at the end of the day, we're no different from anyone else. Most times, if I'm working a case, I give everyone my cell phone number, and I tell them, contact me anytime, feel free. I mean, taking people to hotels so that way they've got somewhere safe to stay for the night. I think it's the things that you do that aren't necessarily case related. It's just something you do. Someone needs something, you just do it.
So what do you do when you have those tough calls or those tough days, or, to personally recharge? How do you keep yourself in a place where you can keep showing up to do this?
I hang with my family, and I love music. My dad and I, he plays guitar and I play drums. Sometimes I'll just go upstairs and I'll just bang on my drums and try to have that moment to myself. Put my headphones on while I'm cleaning the house and just have that moment. I'm one of those, put me with the workers. I'm just, someone else can have the limelight. I'll just put me in the back and let me work. I don't know, that's just how I am. I've had a blessed career. I've been really fortunate to do a lot of different things here, and I don't know what the future holds for me at JPD, but I hope that whatever I can do, I'm making the department better in some form or fashion.
Leadership to me is being the example, caring for others, and helping them to be the best that they can be. Listening, I think more and more, not just in grief, but people don't feel heard, people don't feel valued. And I think as a leader, that is the most important thing that we can do, is to get ourselves out of the way. Patient care is still what is most near and dear to me. And I was that labor and delivery nurse that wanted to take care of all the moms, but especially the moms that were not going to be taking a baby home.
We're very fortunate that our program has the resources and the support to serve every family. And that means that no matter the gestational age, which that could be a very small baby with a miscarriage at 8 weeks or 10 weeks, all the way through a full-term delivery at 39 weeks, even a tragic SIDS death after a baby has went home, or maybe someone that's in the NICU, a baby that there is very sick and really is just not able to survive. We take care of all those babies. Typical support for a family will start either at time of diagnosis, if they find out during an ultrasound that their baby is very sick or unfortunately has died. We then meet them at the bedside and really just start to, what I call, cover them in just love and support. And so we start conversations about things that are important. Who in your family is going to be here? What support do you need? And making it normal and a positive thing is very eye-opening for moms and dads. And so that's the bedside care. Once delivery has happened and that sweet baby is here, then we encourage families to help us with memory making, which could be things like photographs, hand and footprints, molds of their hands and feet, including siblings, and encouraging them to come and be part of just a conversation on this couch. and seeing their baby brother or sister for the first time. All of that is support-led. So we're with them, we're here encouraging them, kind of role modeling for them how that should look, which then sets them up to have hopefully more positive grief as they leave the hospital.
30 or 40 years ago, you weren't allowed to talk about a loss. It was very, very hidden, and those families were getting no support whatsoever. It's a worldwide issue, and people need to know that it's okay to talk about. It is normal processes, but we have to talk about those things, and it impacts, you learn, one person speaks up, and sometimes you're surprised about how many people have had losses that they've never talked about. We had a lady several years ago when we first started the memorial garden where the names could be engraved on the wall, and she was just passing through and she saw it, and she said, I had a miscarriage 30 years ago and I've never talked about it. Could I have my baby's name put on that wall? And we're like, of course you can.
I definitely feel very honored and proud to say that our program is one of the only comprehensive programs in the state of Tennessee. We're a smaller hospital system, but we care for so many families in this area. The name actually came from the vision of having the softest wings of a butterfly to kind of guard and protect around a family, but also helping them transform this huge emotion of grief into something that's beautiful. And so the name Butterfly's Embrace just fit. It's very important for us to know that every family has the best care possible.
Immediately I think of a leader who was the most famous leader of all time, Jesus. To be a servant leader that is true to my convictions, true to character, honest, pure, like as just and equitable as I can be, but who's willing to serve and go the extra distance and the extra mile for whoever, then that would be leadership to me. The initial falling in love in Spanish came from my high school teacher. I had the opportunity to travel to Nicaragua and then to Guatemala, which is where this is from. And then I got to actually live my capstone in Cádiz, España, or Cádiz, España. It changes who you are. In becoming bicultural and bilingual opens a passion in this world that allows the small little world you make to always know that it's bigger, and the compassion and desire to see humanity flourish. I actually have almost 2 decades of professional experience now. So I worked in healthcare, and then I was using Spanish. I worked with a dentist. When it was an interaction where I was able to provide value to another person's life that changed it for the positive, that was what I really enjoyed. And because my degree was in Spanish and International Studies, and I'd been working with it professionally, I was able to step into a classroom on a practitioner's license, fell absolutely head over heels in love, and never turned back. And so over a decade later, I'm here still getting up, loving and wanting to go to school every day. Coming up with the culture lessons that were part of my experience of my soul and what I could give to my kids, like actually having in my curriculum my students having to learn salsa, bachata, merengue, about Semana Santa, and seeing actual photos in my videos that I'm bringing of my experience of actually living during Semana Santa in Spain. I legitimately did create my own organic, with minimal guides and infusions of other stuff, curriculum to be able to walk through all of Spanish 1 and into Spanish 2. I want them to know that they have a reason to be here on this earth. Know it. That they have value, and it didn't have to do anything with where they were born, how much money their parents make, their ability of what they can dress in, what they don't, what shoes they have, what they don't. That literally they have value as a person, as a human. And that intrinsic value of who they are not only affirms them in this life, and when it's so hard, when being a teenager is really hard sometimes, but then they also see that same value then translates internationally or even locally to someone who may not speak English because they didn't happen to be born in a household with parents that started speaking English to them, just like they didn't have any control of it for themselves. And that they see this equitable honoring and value an intrinsic, immeasurable value in the worth of a person, and that they feel that they are worthy in my room, and that I'm going to challenge them and grow them, but that never changes their worthy, because they're worthy for just being a human.
Whenever I went into your class, it like really changed, and like this last year and a half is like really shaped like what I want to do in the future.
Yay!
And like I want to go to college and like minor or major in Spanish.
You
and
should.
Like be able to help people.
You
like,
should.
That story about you and your teacher is really similar to how much you've inspired me in Spanish and in class.
Okay.
I would say leadership is providing a way for someone else to achieve something that you've been able to achieve. So you should always be bringing someone along and bringing someone up. I believe that's what leadership is. As the senior manager, my main focus is all the things that come into RIFA, just trying to get it redispersed to the right area. It's reaching out versus doing outreach. When I'm delivering the food to the senior citizen centers, when I'm there to see their faces and the excitement on, this is a help to them. And I mean, even more personal, I've been like to someone's home, and I sometimes get to pray with people, or, just explain how their items are going to be used. And we see great things come from it, and just helping people through that. When I see somebody doing something that nobody else would have done, nobody else has thought about it, but it impacted, 15, 20 different people just because they did that, that's kind of my inspiration. Everybody does a little bit. There's that saying, many hands make light work. Over 500,000 meals a year, right? Just me? No. But I've accepted that I need to drive that truck so that we can feed, we can make all those meals. If you're walking and there's nobody behind you, you're just going for a walk. So it's like, if you're not able to look behind you and see if someone else is coming with you, or if someone else is not stepping up, you're not leading, you're not really doing anything. You're just here, just going on a walk. So I'm here because I want to be here. I wasn't told or anything. It was just, this is where I need to be, and so that's where I'm going to be. It's always a pick-me-up to know that, well, whatever I'm going to do is going to help them get just one step closer to better, and not help them go in the wrong direction. For me, the question's always, well, what can happen? What can we do? So with the things that are going on outside of this place, or outside of our control, you have to take it in stride. We're not going to let it be the end of us. Like today's not going to be the end. There's going to be a tomorrow. So let's keep looking for what we can do, tomorrow to make it better.
A hidden leader is doing the right thing, helping somebody, even when nobody is watching or nobody is giving credit to you.
It doesn't mean that you need to lead a company or a team of people. Leading your own self is also leadership. And to me, hidden leadership is, again, no medals, no glory, not expecting any of it, but you just do it because it's the right thing to do.
JAI stands for Jackson Association of Indians. So informally, JAI started many, many years ago, probably 20 years ago. But formally as a group, as JAI, we started that 10 years ago. It was more of an informal setting back then. Social media wasn't there, so it was more of a word of mouth. And then about 10 years ago, 2014, 2013 timeframe is when we officially started JAI as a nonprofit organization. On a day-to-day basis, it's a very, we always call it like a family away from home. If I need help at 2 o'clock in the night, I can put one message and I can have 20 people at my house in about 10 minutes. Both me and Lalita are honored and privileged to be here speaking here. But besides us, there is a whole team who have done same, even more than what we do for JAI.
all of those people, they were there. They showed us what it is to be this community, a home away from home. When me and Preston, our families moved to Jackson area around the same time.
Same day, I think.
Same day, 2002. We didn't know we didn't know each other and all. And somehow we got connected through word of mouth. And then we were invited to Diwali with this in 2002 and 2003. We didn't even know anybody, but we were invited to this Diwali function from all these people. Those are the trailblazers and those are the hidden leaders that taught us how to do all this going forward. And during Diwali, it's another thing. What we do is we come in like as if it's a big celebration of like life, or it's like a wedding. You know, the kids get to learn, and all the people are welcome to Diwali too.
A lot of new folks are involved in our community now, so hopefully it's like pass the baton. You know, there were people who showed us get the community together. We tried to do that along with a lot of volunteers, and now we have a lot of new folks coming in. All we're doing is trying to continue what they really started 20 years ago, 25 years ago.
Spreading the love and joy is how I say we come about, and teaching the kids the same thing, spread the love and joy.
Working on these stories has reminded me that leadership is holding a door, sitting with someone as they cry, showing a student that they are deeply valued, creating belonging in a new city, bringing back a lost art form, and seeing people who are in the margins.
Much of what holds a community together isn't loud or visible. When we slow down, we start to notice the quiet work happening all around us, the kind of work rooted in care, generosity, and connection. It's what makes a community feel like home.